Have you ever wondered why some men, without saying much, without trying too hard, can walk into a room and instantly command the attention of women? Not because they're the richest, not because they're the tallest, not even because they're the best looking. It's because they've mastered one powerful masculine habit. And here's the thing. Women find this habit ridiculously hot, to the point where it can override looks, status, or money. Before I reveal what it is, let me ask you something personal. Think back to the first time you fell in love, or maybe just had a crush that consumed your thoughts. Do you remember how badly you wanted to impress that person? How much effort you put into words, gestures, and appearances, yet somehow, the more you tried, the less natural it felt. Now here's the twist. The men who truly capture women's hearts don't chase. They don't bend over backwards, and they don't perform. Instead, they embody this one habit so deeply that it naturally attracts women without force. And in today's video, we're diving into Marcus Aurelius's timeless Stoic wisdom to uncover not only what that habit is, but also 5 practical ways you can show it in your life starting today. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and most importantly, stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share could change the way you approach women, attraction, and even your love life forever. Part 1. The Habit Revealed. So what is this mysterious masculine habit that women find ridiculously hot? It's self-mastery. Yes, the ability to master yourself, your emotions, your desires, your impulses. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Strength, that's the word. A man who has mastered himself radiates strength, and strength is irresistible. Think about it. Women are biologically and psychologically wired to seek safety and security in a partner. But safety doesn't just mean money in the bank. It means emotional safety. It means a man who doesn't lose control at the slightest inconvenience. A man who isn't swayed by lust, fear, or the opinions of others. That's why the man who controls himself is seen as more masculine, more powerful, and yes, ridiculously attractive. Let me tell you a quick story. There was once a young Roman soldier who rose quickly through the ranks. He wasn't the tallest. He wasn't the most physically intimidating. But when battles broke out while others panicked, he stayed calm. While others chased glory, he stayed disciplined. And when Caesar himself noticed his composure under pressure, this soldier's fate changed forever. That soldier? Marcus Aurelius before he became emperor. He didn't win respect because of brute strength. He won it because of his unshakable self-mastery. And centuries later, the same principle applies in attraction. Because here's the truth. Women can sense when a man has control over himself and when he doesn't, and nothing, absolutely nothing, is more masculine than that. Part 2. Why self-mastery is so attractive. Now you might ask, why does self-mastery matter so much to women? Simple. A man who cannot master himself cannot lead, cannot protect, and cannot provide stability. Imagine this, you're on a date. The restaurant messes up your order. One man loses his temper, raises his voice, and embarrasses everyone around him. Another man stays calm, smiles, and handles the situation with grace. Which man do you think she'll be more attracted to? It's obvious. The second one, because self-mastery equals confidence, emotional stability, and strength. It signals to her subconscious, this man can handle life. If I'm with him, I'm safe. And remember, attraction isn't about flashy words or grand gestures, it's about the energy you radiate. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." In other words, the man who controls himself controls the world around him. And that's what women crave, often without even realizing it. Part 3. 5 ways to show self-mastery. So now that we know that there one masculine habit women find ridiculously hot is self-mastery, how do you show it? How do you live it? Here are 5 practical ways backed by Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. 1. Control your desires. Have you ever been in love, or maybe in the early stages of dating someone, where you just couldn't stop thinking about her? You checked your phone every 5 minutes hoping she texted back. You replayed her last words in your head. You wondered if she liked you as much as you liked her. And if we're honest, sometimes that obsession doesn't feel like love. It feels like desperation. You want her so badly that every little action she takes controls your emotions. One moment she replies quickly and your heart lights up. The next moment she takes hours to respond, and suddenly your whole day feels ruined. Does that sound familiar? I'll be honest, it's happened to me too. It happens to almost every man at some point, because desire is powerful. But here's the thing. When you let that desire control you, you give away your power, and nothing kills attraction faster than a man who has no control over himself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Strength. That's what women feel when they're around a man who controls his desires instead of being controlled by them. Let me share a story. There was a man, let's call him Adrian. He fell hard for a woman he met at university. She was beautiful, mysterious, and every time she walked into the room, he felt like the world froze. Adrian wanted her so badly that he started to overthink everything. He bought gifts, texted her constantly, and even changed his schedule just to accidentally bump into her. At first, she liked the attention, but over time, she started pulling back. Why? Because Adrian's desire had turned into neediness. His entire sense of happiness depended on her response. One night, frustrated, he went home and opened a book of Marcus Aurelius' meditations that his father had given him. He read, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." That night, he realized something. His desire wasn't love, it was weakness. Love is calm, steady, and free. But desperation, that's just obsession. So Adrian shifted. He stopped chasing. He started focusing on his studies, his health, his purpose. And guess what happened? The same woman who had pulled away slowly started chasing him. Why? Because he showed self-mastery. He no longer needed her validation. He wanted her, yes, but he didn't need her. And that difference is magnetic. So let me turn the mirror back to you. Think about your own love story. Have you ever lost yourself in desire? Have you ever chased so hard that you forgot your own value? Here's the secret. When you control your desires, you show her that you are not a boy chasing comfort, but a man living with strength. Because women don't fall for the man who loses himself for love. They fall for the man who can love deeply without losing himself. 2. Master your emotions. Have you ever been in a situation where your emotions got the best of you? Especially with someone you loved? Maybe it was jealousy, maybe it was anger, or maybe it was fear of losing her. Think back to that one time. Maybe she said something playful. Maybe she didn't text back for hours. Maybe you saw her talking to another guy and suddenly, a wave of emotions rushed over you. Your chest tightened, your thoughts raced, and without realizing it, you snapped. Or you sent that long emotional text, or you said something you wish you could take back. And afterward, when the emotions faded, you thought to yourself, why did I react like that? Why couldn't I stay calm? I know that feeling. Most men do. But here's the truth, emotions are like storms, they pass. And the man who is swept away by every storm loses control, not only of himself, but also of how others see him. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." A woman can sense instantly if a man has mastery over his emotions, and believe me, it's one of the most attractive traits she can feel, because when you can remain calm in chaos, you become her anchor. Let me share a story. There was a man named Daniel. He deeply loved his girlfriend, but he was also easily triggered. If she took too long to reply, he'd assume she lost interest. If she laughed at another man's joke, he'd burn with jealousy. Every disagreement turned into an argument because he couldn't control his emotions. At first, she tried to reassure him, but over time, she started to feel unsafe. Not physically, but emotionally. She realized she couldn't trust his stability. One day she told him, "I don't need a man who reacts to everything. I need a man who can lead through calmness." That broke Daniel, but it also woke him up. He went back to the Stoics. He read Marcus Aurelius's words, "You have power over your mind." And he understood that emotions are not enemies, they're signals. But acting on them recklessly? That's weakness. So Daniel trained himself. The next time jealousy crept in, he paused, breathed, and asked, "Is this real? Or is this just my fear?" When anger rose, he took a step back, calmed down, and responded later. And slowly everything changed. His girlfriend started to see him differently. She felt safe again, respected again, and more attracted than ever. Because here's the secret. Women will test your emotions not to hurt you, but to see if you can handle them. If you explode, they lose trust. If you stay calm, they lean in. So think about your own love story. How many times have you let your emotions push her away, when self-mastery could have pulled her closer? The man who masters his emotions doesn't just win arguments, he wins respect. And in love, respect is the soil in which true attraction grows. Build purpose over pleasure. Have you ever been in a relationship where you started to lose yourself? At first you had your hobbies, your goals, your dreams, but once you fell for her slowly, you started to give it all up. You skipped the gym just to spend more time with her. You ignored your projects so you could be available when she called. You even put your bigger dreams on hold, telling yourself, I'll get back to them later. Right now she's everything. Sounds familiar? It feels romantic at the time, doesn't it? Almost like a movie, sacrificing everything for love. But let me tell you the truth that most men realize. Too late, women may enjoy attention, but they don't fall in love with men who abandon their purpose for pleasure. Marcus Aurelius once said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. And a good man, one who is respected, admired, and loved, is not the one who chases pleasure at the cost of his purpose. He's the man who wakes up every morning with direction. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Omar. He was talented, ambitious, and had a dream of starting his own business. But then he fell in love. At first, his girlfriend admired his drive. She told him how inspiring it was to see him chase his goals. But slowly, Omar started choosing pleasure over purpose. Instead of working late on his dream, he chose movie nights. Instead of waking up early for training, he stayed in bed texting. Instead of building, he began drifting. At first, she didn't say much, but deep down something shifted. She no longer saw him as the man who inspired her. He had become comfortable, easy, predictable. One day, she finally told him, I fell for the man who was building his life, not the man who gave it all up for me. That broke Omar, but it also woke him up. He remembered the words of Marcus Aurelius. A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. From that day forward, Omar made a change. He loved her, yes, but he put his purpose first. He went back to his business idea, spent his nights building, and his mornings training. And slowly, something surprising happened. His girlfriend started admiring him again. She respected him more. She looked at him with the same desire she had when they first met. Why? Because women don't truly fall in love with the man who makes them his whole purpose. They fall in love with the man who has a purpose bigger than her. So think about your own story. Are you chasing pleasure, or are you building something bigger? Because here's the truth, pleasure fades. The dinners, the late-night texts, the romantic gestures, they're good but temporary. Purpose, on the other hand, is eternal. And when you put your purpose first, you don't lose love, you make her love you even more. Because she sees you not as a boy needing comfort, but as a man building a kingdom. Or practice silence over boasting. When was the last time you tried to impress someone you liked? Maybe you exaggerated a story to sound cooler. Maybe you mentioned your achievements, your job, or how much you earn. Maybe you even dropped hints about the things you own, hoping she would notice. We've all done it at some point, trying to prove ourselves worthy of love. But here's the paradox. The more you boast, the less impressive you actually seem. Marcus Aurelius once said, waste no more time talking about what a good man should be. Be one. And that's the secret right there. Women aren't attracted to words, they're drawn to presence, to action, to quiet confidence that doesn't need to scream. Let me tell you a story. There were two men, let's call them Leo and David. Both were interested in the same woman. Leo tried everything to impress her. He bragged about his job, about the car he drove, about the vacations he had taken. He always found a way to slide his achievements into the conversation. David, on the other hand, barely said a word about himself. When she asked, he answered honestly but briefly. Instead of talking, he listened. Instead of boasting, he asked her about her life. Now guess who she couldn't stop thinking about later that night? Not Leo, the man who tried too hard. It was David, the man of silence. Why? Because silence creates mystery, and mystery creates desire. You see, a man who constantly boasts signals insecurity. He's saying, please see me as valuable, because deep down I don't believe I am. But the man who doesn't need to boast is already telling the world, I know my value, I don't need to prove it. That, my friend, is power. Think about your own love story. Have you ever noticed how sometimes the less you say, the more she leans in? How when you pause, when you listen, when you let your actions speak louder than your words, suddenly, she's more intrigued? It's because silence makes her curious. Silence makes her want to know more. Silence gives her space to imagine, and imagination is powerful. Marcus Aurelius lived this truth. As emperor, he didn't go around boasting about his status or power. In fact, he reminded himself daily of how fragile life is. He stayed humble, quiet, and focused on action. That humility wrapped in strength is what made him unforgettable. So here's the lesson. Stop telling her who you are. Show her. If you're strong, let your composure reveal it. If you're ambitious, let your work display it. If you're kind, let your actions prove it. Because the man who practices silence over boasting doesn't just attract her, he earns her respect. And respect is the foundation of lasting love. So the next time you're tempted to prove yourself with words, remember this: silence is not emptiness, it's presence. And presence is far more attractive than any boast you could ever make. 5. Walk away when needed. Have you ever stayed in a relationship even when you knew, deep down, that it was no longer right for you? Maybe she stopped respecting you. Maybe the love faded. Maybe the relationship became toxic, arguments, lies, or even betrayal. And yet, you stayed. Why? Because the thought of losing her felt unbearable. You told yourself, maybe it'll change. Maybe she'll come back to the woman I first met. Maybe I just need to try harder. But what happened instead? The longer you stayed, the smaller you felt. The more you tolerated, the less she respected you. Here's the harsh truth most men don't want to hear. Sometimes, the most masculine thing you can do is walk away. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And what could be more outside of your control than trying to force love, where love no longer lives? Let me share a story. There was a man named Ethan. He loved his girlfriend deeply, too deeply in fact. She was his world, his light, his everything. But over time, she stopped treating him the same. She became distant, critical, and even started flirting openly with other men. His friends told him, "Ethan, you deserve better. She doesn't respect you." But Ethan couldn't let go. He thought, if I just show her more love, she'll change. If I just prove myself, she'll stay. But the more he clung, the colder she became. Until one day he caught her cheating. Ethan was crushed. But at that moment, when his world was breaking, he remembered a line he once read from Marcus Aurelius. "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That night, for the first time in months, Ethan chose self-respect over fear. He walked away. No begging, no drama, no desperate words, just silence. And something remarkable happened. Within weeks, he felt lighter, stronger, free. He realized that walking away wasn't weakness, it was power. Because by leaving, he proved that his worth was not tied to her actions. His value existed within himself. Here's the truth. Women respect men who are not afraid to walk away. When you stay in a situation where you're disrespected, you show weakness. When you leave, you show strength. And sometimes, ironically, it's only when you walk away that she realizes what she lost. But even if she doesn't, you've gained something far more important, your dignity. So let me ask you again. Think back to your own love story. Were there moments where you should have walked away but didn't? What did it cost you? And now, imagine the man you become when you have the courage to say, "I choose my peace. I choose my respect. I choose myself." Because the man who can walk away when needed is the man who will never be broken. He may lose a woman, but he will never lose himself. Part 4, bringing it together. So let's put this all together. The number one masculine habit women find ridiculously hot isn't money, looks, or charm, it's self-mastery. The ability to control your desires, the discipline to master your emotions, the strength to live with purpose, the wisdom to choose silence over boasting, and the courage to walk away when respect is gone. Marcus Aurelius didn't just preach these ideas, he lived them. And centuries later, women still crave the same energy in men today. Because deep down, every woman wants a man she can trust, not just with her body, but with her heart, her emotions, and her future. And only the man who has mastered himself can be trusted in that way. So my challenge to you is this: stop chasing, stop proving, stop performing. Instead, cultivate the Stoic strength of self-mastery. Because once you do, you'll notice something incredible. Women will be drawn to you, not because you need them, but because you've become the kind of man who doesn't. And with that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.